Distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the first question borders on my contribution or what area I can contribute positively to the measures to reduce or eradicate the current recession in the Federation. Now, if I'm given the opportunity, I will say that I would rather work towards the implementation, towards the successful. My recommendation would be what we can do to implement the recently launched program of President Muhammadu Buhari, designed to fight this current recession. And that program is known as Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. Because having gone through the mandate of this economic recovery plan, the objectives are sufficient enough to restore the country back to financial viability, and to some extent to reduce the suffering of Nigerians under the current economic recession. This plan that was launched recently emphasizes on the need to boost local revenue generation, and that has been lacking all along. Not totally, but emphasis has never been on internal revenue generation. If the internal revenue generation is emphasized and efforts are made towards improving on our internal revenue generation, then of course we'll be able to sustain and implement our budget. Why are we not implementing sometimes our budget up to 70 or 80 or 90%? It's because of the decline in the revenue projection of the Federation. And that's mostly because of over-reliance on oil revenue. But in this recently launched plan, government is now emphasizing on the need to diversify towards boosting internal revenue generation. And another major aspect or component of this growth plan is the need for us to also improve our capacity to produce more of the oil, which we have relied on, by rehabilitating our local refineries. When this is done, of course, definitely we have increased our export capacity. And then, of course, that will lead to enhanced foreign exchange earnings. Then we'll be able to take care, in fact, the economy will pick up from there immediately. Then, of course, we have our small and medium-scale industries in order to boost local production. When we do this and we're able to improve on the overall GDP of the country, then I think our problem is getting solved gradually. Because if we can improve on the total production of goods and services within the country for a particular period, we can do this. We can even do this assessment quarterly or annually. Then, of course, we'll be able to attain a level of self-sustainability as a nation. Then, on the issue of strike action by lecturers, I think the situation calls for a kind of understanding by both parties. The lecturers as well, on their part, are part of the economic situation we are today. What I mean is the lecturers will try as much as possible to understand that we have some decline, particularly in our oil revenue. And that ultimately affects the implementation of the budget. I think the major area of complaint of the lecturers is on maybe some are saying non-payment of salaries. We are of a state university, but the issues that are being stressed mostly borders on federal universities. And if salaries are not paid as at when due, or other welfare programs are not executed, are not paid, and perhaps provided in the budget, the next question is the budget being realized as proposed? All comes down to the issue of being able to realize enough revenue to be able to actualize the proposals in our budget. Yeah, the question on poverty and corruption was preceded by over-allocation of government resources to recurrent expenditure instead of capital expenditure. Like I said earlier, the economic growth plan emphasizes also on the need to reduce budgetary allocation to recurrent expenditure. It seeks to increase allocation to capital by 10%, and then to review downward allocation for recurrent expenditure. So by this, if our capital expenditure is improved by whatever percentage in the budget, then of course, there will be an improvement in the overall development of the country. And that will go a long way to reduce poverty. When there's development, take for instance, even from the stage of capital project development, capital project execution, people are being employed. Employment is being generated at every level, even from the start of implementation until the projects are completed. So if we increase our capital expenditure allocation by any percentage, we're also reducing poverty by that percentage. And I'm sure this is one of the ideas behind government wisdom in advocating increase in capital expenditure. And also we should be able to, as much as possible, encourage our graduates to take more interest in self-employment scheme. Because the public sector cannot continue to absorb 100% of our graduates every year, as it was in the past. Because if we develop the private sector, and the private sector cannot develop without increasing our capital expenditure allocation. Because by doing that, we are creating an enabling environment that will attract foreign direct investment. And then the economy will pick up, and then we'll be able to create more jobs. If you are a welder, for instance, and there's no power supply, and you have to go and hire a generator, you have to pay exorbitantly for petrol and all that, then in fact, the job crumbles. And then you lay off the people that are working with you. So the impact of government expenditure in capital expenditure on the development of the private sector is very enormous, and cannot be set aside at all. Then the last question from our distinguished senator, Nasarawa West Senatorial District, Senator Abdullahi, is all about the unfortunate demise of our brother, and how we can, my view, well, our late brother was a man of impeccable character, a man of a distinguished profession. But I want to assure you that in Kogi State, all the supporters, all the group, in fact, we don't have differences in that direction. we shall work towards attaining the goal of the government, carrying everybody from every perspective along. That is my little view about that. Both government and labor to go to a round table and discuss the possibility of implementing the minimum wage. This discussion will be anchored on the budget of the Federation. It's like, if your children are demanding for 100 naira and you have 10 naira in your pocket, not until you disclose or you declare your asset, they will not believe in what you are saying. By the time government and labor go to a round table, then we'll be able to tell the labor, look, you people are asking for this. The implication of this for a civil servant in a month, for so number of months in a year, times so number of category on level 1, 2, 3, 4 to level 17, the government liability will amount to so much. And then right now, government is emphasizing on the need to reduce allocation to recurrent expenditure. And personnel cost is a major component of recurrent expenditure. So how are we going to do this? Look at your road. My dear comrade, you have traveled from Cross River. You have traveled from Kogi State. How were you feeling traveling on your road with all the potholes? This is what the government wants to do. Then, please, if you are in my shoes, for instance, if you are holding a meeting with the Minister for Labor, you will tell them, if you are the Minister for Labor, what will you do? Given this budget at your disposal, do you want us to use this budget to pay for salaries alone? Then at the end of the day, you strike a balance. It may not really be what is being asked for. That's my advice, sir.
I now put the question. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Mr. Professor Stephen Ocheni as a Minister of the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Professor Stephen Ocheni is hereby confirmed as a Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Suleiman Zama Hassan as a Minister of the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Suleiman Zama Hassan is hereby confirmed as a Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Distinguished colleagues, let me, on behalf of you and the entire Senate, congratulate the new ministers on their confirmation, and we hope that their contribution to the Executive Council and to the government at this very, very important time will be immense and will add a lot of value to the government. The challenges are enormous, and I hope they appreciate it, and we do hope that they contribute their best towards the success of the government. I wish them all the best of luck in their service and to development of our great country. Leader of the Senate.